Welcome back to another fun episode of Tiger Bites, where we spotlight innovative and exciting practices in online learning from all across Auburn's campus. And I think the one we're talking about today is super interesting. We're here with Mary Mendonça.
Mhm.
Mary is the vice chair of Auburn's Department of Biological Sciences. Could you talk a little bit about how big that department is and how many students you service?
We have about over 40 faculty in
Mhm.
the department, and we have about 400 to 500 majors in the department. But we also are the department that handles like the required biology sequence courses for
Mm,
lots of majors. So
right.
we literally teach thousands of
Uh,
undergraduates. Yeah.
wow.
So.
So big department, very important department on campus. How long have you been at Auburn and where were you before that? Where'd you get your PhD?
Sure, sure. I've been here since the early 90s,
Mm-hmm.
so it's been 30 years or so, and a little more than that. I got my PhD at Berkeley,
Mm-hmm.
and I did a couple of postdocs, one in Australia,
Oh, wow.
yeah, in Western Australia, and I got my second postdoc over at the University of Texas at Austin,
Mm-hmm.
and then came here to the beautiful plains,
Wow, that's a heck of
and
a pedigree.
yeah, it's it's been great. A great experience here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how did you first become involved in rethinking physiology labs?
So I've been involved in teaching anatomy and physiology,
Mm-hmm.
which are for 2000 level students that are more pre-nursing kind of students. But lately, in the last 10, 15 years, I've been with the upper division
Mm-hmm.
physiology courses. There are only a very few number of universities that still use live animal preps. So then we have the Big EO Center here,
Mm-hmm.
and so they send out every year proposals, like call for proposals to do some new kind of instructional methodology. And I went, well, this is the answer, you
Right.
know. And so basically, I wrote a proposal saying we're trying to substitute. We're going to see if we could do virtual reality
Mm-hmm.
labs so that the students still have an in-depth experience of doing the surgery, but not actually utilizing the live animals. And so that has been an adventure that we've been on for the last
Mm-hmm.
few years and trying to develop one that's really not just, there are uh, canned procedures out there, but they're basically you click on something and you get
Oh,
some
right.
result,
Right.
right? It's not the actual experience of manipulating, seeing the response,
Mm-hmm.
and also the what's out there commercially is nowhere in the depth that we use in our physiology lab. So we use different drugs to see the changes in the physiological function, and the other programs that are out there are very simplistic and not realistic. I think the future is going to be as virtual reality gets better and better. And we hope that we're developing some really excellent programs to just that they can kind of really experience what they're seeing in real life
Mm-hmm.
using this program that we're developing.
So I would think from a student point of view, one of the big advantages would be with the virtual reality. If I didn't necessarily get it the first time, I can go back and do it again. Whereas if I have a rabbit and the rabbit dies, I'm kind of
E-
done.
Exactly. And so that is the advantage that what they can do is run it multiple times and make sure they really understand the process. Also, to minimize the use of animals, it's a team of 4 students,
Mm-hmm.
right? And with one prep. And so this having it be a virtual experience, you have you can do all by yourself
Right,
every
right.
single segment of the experiment rather than have one part of the experiment. So they get a much fuller
Yeah,
interaction.
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Have faculty been skeptical of replacing long-standing lab traditions? Did you get any sort of, well, we've always done it this way, why should we do things differently? And did you have to navigate any of those?
Certainly there, this biomedical physiology course is kind of seen as a capstone course for the
Mm,
biomedical science
mm-hmm.
majors, and it's kind of like something the students really know that is demanding, and they're going to get these kinds of experiences. And
Right.
so there were faculty that were going, this is a unique experience. They get so much out of it. You will never be able to replace this experience in great enough validity. And so, but you just go, hey, times are changing,
Right.
technology
Right.
is changing, and we do now have a lot of technology that it comes close to replacing the real experience. So I think the faculty that were skeptical of it and or objected to it were thinking of the canned programs that I
Yeah.
told you about that
Right.
were just click and something happened, and so they didn't realize how much we can do with virtual reality experiences now.
Mm-hmm. When a student is doing the virtual reality
Yep.
surgery, do
Yep.
they feel like pressure in their
That is one
hands?
thing we're working on right
Okay.
now. No, because it's actually taken a while just to get the imaging right,
Mm-hmm.
that it's accurate, very accurate in anatomical detail and function. And also, like, they catheterize a vessel, so they, and they cut a trachea,
Yeah.
and so there are aspects that we're still trying to get down,
Mm-hmm.
but we've gotten it enough that the virtual experience, that they feel like they're in the lab. The animal looks like
Mm-hmm.
the animal. The inner anatomy is very realistic. The other good thing about it is that when they have their visors on, they can actually kind of, like, when they lean in, it kind of like blows up
Oh, sure.
the
Yeah.
area
Yeah.
too, so you can get a really good
Mm-hmm.
look at it. So maybe even better than you can see peeking over somebody's shoulder
Right.
looking at the prep. They manipulate, so they have scissors, they have forceps, tweezers, and they can insert cannula and things like that. And so they're doing some manipulations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to do this virtual reality project, and how many hours?
I can't tell you the hours. And can I, one, we have had amazing support, so it's not us that are doing it,
Right.
biological
Right.
sciences,
Yeah.
right? So the initial proof of concept for Bigio, because we said, well, we want to develop this, and we partnered with the library
Mm-hmm.
team, the innovative research area there. And so they were the ones that kind of developed the first lab that we are using, the cardiac physiology lab, and so their people worked on this for about a year, and developed an exercise that we could go to Bigio and say, hey, this is, what we're thinking
Mm-hmm.
about. And so we've been continued developing other labs, like we're working on the blood pressure lab, which is the rabbit
Mm-hmm.
simulation, and that's with the people at the Bigio
Mm-hmm.
Center itself. Yeah, so it's been a while, because to get it to the realism, to really mimic what would happen in the lab, this really outstrips any program that's out there. So it's really quite an undertaking, and it's
Yeah.
been amazing, the expertise that is at Auburn, and all the people that we've been working with, as well as in biology. We have a lab coordinator for the
Mm-hmm.
physiology labs, and Linda Pastorella. And what she has done is, like, she has years of recordings of the output from previous experiments, so we can draw upon real data, and we can give them the real data that would correspond to the manipulation, so that they can make sure that they provide a data output in the program. So when you do the manipulations, the data comes out, and then they can analyze that data.
Has there been any discussion about trying to license this to other universities?
We have said that that would be something that should be followed up on.
Yeah, I mean,
because I think
sense.
it will be, when it's finally finished, a powerful tool, and I think it really could be, used more widely.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I'm one of these other universities, it's easier for me to pay Auburn a licensing fee than to develop it myself.
It definitely would be, yeah.
And faster.
Yeah. But again, by the way, another advantage of the virtual lab is that, when we do the manipulations, there's a standard set of manipulations we can do. But with a live animal, there's only so much you can change, and then the animal's going to not be able to respond any longer. But with a virtual setup, you could do many more manipulations, and if you mess it up, you can do it again. And so that's the strength of it, is that you really can play around with it a lot more. And so that's part of, right now we're just developing, this is the response with our normal manipulations, but we've already been talking to the developers about, we'd like to see what if they did it incorrectly, and what would be the response, so that we can have other options,
that
scenarios.
Would be super powerful, because it's when we mess up that we learn the most.
Exactly, yeah. So again, it's still under development, but we've gotten the visualization, so it's right. We need some more details about what they're actually feeling and how hard it is, because right now it's much easier to do it virtually, because it just does it right. And so again, we need to build in when things don't quite go right. Yeah.
So looking, say, 5 years down the road, how do you imagine students talking about their experience with this virtual reality?
I hope they think that it was very useful. I would say, in general, it's been greeted with enthusiasm, that they see the benefit of it. Some of them do get a little. Sometimes being virtual reality disorients them, so there are some people that have some issues, but I think on the whole it's been generally well regarded, especially, and we've been using the rabbit one for the first time last semester. We used the new rabbit blood pressure exercise, and that seemed to go over very well with them, so I think we're going to continue to every semester bring more and more of it into the lab, and see how it, that it's hopefully it will probably replace the use of animals.
Right. Well, I love the fact that every student gets to do every part of the process, rather than the team of four where you have to share.
Exactly. Yeah. So and you can go back and do it again, just to make sure you understand, which you can't do with the live animal preparation. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, thanks for being with us here on Tiger Bites. I think the project you're working on is just fascinating.
Yep.
And I imagine, from a student point of view, a lot of students are kind of squeamish about live animals, and the fact that you've been able to replicate actual surgery in virtual reality, I just think illustrates the power of that sort of technology.
Exactly. That is the key, is that the technology is getting better, and I've been told that the whole getting the resistance and doing the manipulations, that can get built in. So that's kind of the next step to make it really feel
Right.
it, but the visual is quite astonishing what they can do. And I think students learn more. They don't feel as nervous about it. They try things that they normally wouldn't try.
Right.
And again, the whole idea that you can repeat it just to make sure you understand and then try another manipulation and see what you get. I think that's the way you learn. Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And that is all we have for today. Please join us next time for Tiger Bites. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Tiger Bites. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained some valuable insights. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues. You can find us on all major platforms. And keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you next time on Tiger Bites.